Hello everyone, I'm Weston's Weatherwise, and in today's video we break down the upcoming severe weather coming to portions of the United States. Starting off with the day one outlook, if we do have three separate risk areas, we do actually have a marginal risk here up in Michigan and portions of Ohio. A marginal risk over here on portions of the East Coast into the Mid-Atlantic. And then we have a slight risk inside of that we're going to have to watch for. Then a very large marginal threat extending from portions of Oklahoma back into portions like Oregon, up into Montana. And we do have a slight risk today across portions of North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. And the tornado threat is back today. As you can tell, a 2% tornado risk is in play across this area today. So we're going to have to watch that. We will have a live radar up today, just so you guys know. And then we do actually have a 15% hatched damaging wind risk today. And then a 15% non-hatched here in the Mid-Atlantic on the East Coast. And then we also have a 15% hatched hail risk. So we're going to be watching that very closely. And we could actually see a few hailstorms maybe get up to baseball size, maybe one or two, but I'm not expecting it. Moving on to tomorrow, we have three separate slight risks, you can tell. One across portions of North Dakota and Minnesota, the other across South Dakota, Nebraska, Colorado, and Kansas. The other one across portions of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Marginal risk outside of that here in the plains, extending from North Dakota and Minnesota back through portions of Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. Then we have a marginal risk extending from the northeast through the mid-Atlantic into portions like Georgia. Now we do have another tornado risk tomorrow. It is only a 2%, but it's still there. So we're going to be watching that too. And we do have three separate 15% non-hatch damaging wind outlooks, you can tell. And then we do have a 15%, no, we have a 5% hail risk for tomorrow across the plains. Moving on to the day 3 outlook, we do actually have a marginal risk. So severe weather may die down, as you can tell, two separate marginal risks. And I would honestly not be surprised if we saw a corridor of a slight risk issued tomorrow. We're going to watch it, but I do think right in this corridor we may get a slight risk of severe weather. And I will go over why here in a few moments. Moving on to the HRRR and what we could expect today in portions of the plains, you can tell storms are going to fire, and they don't look to be too intense. But we do actually look like we're going to get a bit of a Boeing segment here in portions of Nebraska and some clustered storms in South Dakota and North Dakota. Moving forward, you can tell they just stay clustered. So overall, not a high-end severe threat today, but we're going to have to watch it closely. Moving on to the NAM-NST model, here's what it is showing. It is showing that same picture for today. The storms are going to fire off and kind of form into a bit of a cluster. Now, it's not picking up on the storms down here staying alive, but it is picking up on this cluster of storms. So we're going to watch it, but there's still a bit of model discrepancy, but we're definitely going to be watching it for you. Moving on to the HRRR on the Mid-Atlantic and East Coast today. You can tell here, storms are going to fire around 4 to 6 o'clock here, and they're going to go up fast, as you can tell. And they're going to form into a bit of a line. You can tell they're a lot more scattered across portions of North Carolina, Georgia, and South Carolina. But then they form into a bit of a line overall and pose that damaging wind threat. So we're going to have to be watching it, but I would not rule out a few tornadoes, especially whenever these storms first fire across portions of Virginia. We're definitely going to keep an eye on it for you and keep you updated with the latest. All right, here we are, moving on to the NAM-NST model again here on the East Coast. It is painting that same picture actually now. Storms are going to fire, as you can tell there. and they're going to start to congeal into a bit of a line before falling apart shortly after they form. That's what NAM NST model is showing. I am a bit more lenient today over to like the HRRR scenario, but I honestly think the NAM NST model scenario definitely could play out today. This is the HRRR, and we're going to have to put it on the 06Z to be able to see out far enough. As you can tell here, moving forward, this is going to be tomorrow. We're going to see storms fire off, and they do actually look to be intense, and I do think we may need to see a bit of a elevated tornado risk. And then we're going to see storms fire off again later, and these look to just be heavy rainfall, maybe some gusty winds, but overall nothing too crazy out of those. So we'll definitely watch it, but I do think in the morning is when our peak tornado risk will be tomorrow in North Dakota. NAM NST model here, if it would load. Alright, it shows that same thing. Storms fire off in the morning, and then it's not really picking up on those afternoon storms, so it is picking up on a lot of rain though on Friday. So we're going to watch it. We are actually going to have to watch that flooding threat too. Moving on to the HRRR and 06Z for tomorrow across portions. Or this is not tomorrow. Yeah, it is. My bad. Sorry about that. This is going to be across portions of the plains, what we could expect. You can tell storms are going to go up pretty fast, you can tell, across this area. And they don't look to be crazy intense, but we're going to have to watch. As you can tell, those storms move out, and we see just a lot of rain. We may have to watch in this area some, but overall, our slight and marginal risk across this area does not look like it's going to be posing anything too crazy, but we'll definitely watch it. Here's what that NAM NST model is showing. It's kind of showing just rain. A bit of a elevated wind threat may get going as this pushes eastward in portions of Nebraska, but overall, it does not look too intense for tomorrow. Here's the HRRR, and this needs to be on 06Z too. So here's what we could see. If we go ahead and move forward to Thursday here, you can tell we're going to see even more storms fire off. They are going to be a lot farther to the south, but we're definitely going to have to be watching it closely, as those do look actually a bit intense. So definitely going to keep our eye on it, and we will have another radar tomorrow too. NAM NST model, it kind of is showing that same scenario, just not as intense, but it always does that. Here, we have moved on to the GFS model, and this is going to show our jet stream first before we look at what radar may look like. So as you can tell, jet stream is lifted extremely far off to the north, and we do actually have a shortwave trough here, so we're definitely going to be watching it. But as you can tell, it does look like it's going to stay lifted pretty far to the north for a while. And you can tell here, Tuesday, July 15th, we actually do have something brewing down here in the Atlantic, and this may take a track up through Florida if it develops. We're going to have to watch it very closely, but it does look by mid-July, our jet stream is going to start. It's going to be lifted far off to the north at first, but then it's going to take these huge dips and eject. And I do actually anticipate it to keep moving a bit farther south as we get towards the end of July. And that is going, like right here, we're going to have to watch, as we're going to probably have a low pressure system spinning here and another one in here. So we'd have to watch across this area for severe weather, and then also across this area on pretty much that same day. So we're definitely going to be watching. As you can tell, it definitely has shifted a bit farther south whenever we go ahead and look forward and to what we think or what the models think the jet stream is going to be, it definitely moves a lot farther to the south as time goes on. And I do think that is going to occur, especially towards the end of July, whenever we get into August, whenever the plains are going to start heating up again. I do think our jet stream is going to return to a bit of a flow like that, maybe a bit more like this, but we're definitely going to have to watch, as it's entirely possible it does not really until later. So we're definitely going to be watching it. Here's what radar could look like. As you can tell here, it is picking up on multiple severe events right around the middle of July, and a few actually there in the plains. Then here, as we move forward, you can tell it doesn't look to be too intense on the severe weather events, but it does look the south and the southern plains are going to need to be prepared for excessive rainfall potentially towards the end of July. Moving on to the European model, and this is the jet stream on it, and it pretty much shows that same thing for as far out as we can look. You can tell it does start to dip a bit further to the south here, and that one actually has it a lot farther to the south. And if that happens, if this could eject off the Rockies, if I can get my pen, if this were to eject off the Rockies, we could be looking at our first significant severe weather event in a while across the southern plains. So we are definitely going to have to watch it, but it definitely looks as if the jet stream is going to dip farther to the south as we go ahead into the near future. And radar would probably show that too if we go ahead and look at radar here. As you can tell, we are definitely going to see excessive rainfall, it looks like, in the plains, especially towards mid-July and to the end of July. So definitely be preparing if you are in the plains for some excessive rainfall and severe weather to make a return. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. Please drop a like and subscribe if you are new here, as we are only 70 subscribers away from 1,000. Thank you guys so much for how far we've gotten on this YouTube journey, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.